It was September 1970, and Mr. Crew, a 54-year-old farmer from the small town of Akwedia in the Ashanti region of Ghana, sat in the passenger seat of an Opel car as they drove towards Konongo. He had no idea that in the next few minutes, his entire life would shatter like glass. The Opel navigated a sharp bend in the road, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a massive timber truck loaded with heavy logs appeared directly in their lane, barreling toward them at top speed. The impact was devastating. The drivers of both vehicles died on impact, but somehow miraculously Mr. Crew survived by the skin of his teeth. However, he was knocked unconscious and his body was broken in ways that would haunt him forever. When he awoke, he was on admission at a hospital, facing a terrible new reality. Extensive lacerations covered the back of his head, his upper right arm, and his waist. His 10th rib was fractured. His upper lip was split open. The doctors told him what he already felt in his bones. Persistent, relentless pain would be his constant companion now. 6 months later, one Dr. Doleto examined him and reported 30% permanent disability and disfigurement. The farmer's body, once his greatest asset, had become his greatest burden. But Mr. Crew sought justice. He looked at the timber truck's owners, SAOUD brothers and sons, and decided to take them on for negligence. He testified that the timber truck had appeared in their lane from nowhere and that their deceased driver was reckless. He prayed the court to hold his employers responsible for his negligence. He brought his medical records, his doctor, his evidence of lost income, and all documentation demonstrating that he needed adequate compensation for his losses. SAOUD brothers, however, claimed it was actually the Opel car that had been speeding recklessly. But when the trial began, they neglected to show up. Not a single person came to testify on their behalf. There was no evidence, no witnesses, nothing. It was just Mr. Crew's word against silence. Judge Sapon at the circuit court made a shocking decision. He dismissed the case entirely. Why? Because Mr. Crew's testimony was not corroborated by anybody else. The judge decided that without additional witnesses, he could not be sure that negligence was proven. One man's truth apparently was not enough. This farmer, already shattered physically, now faced an embarrassing legal defeat. But Mr. Crew refused to surrender. He appealed to the Court of Appeal, where the eminent Justice Apalu and his colleagues reheard the matter and would eventually give him much needed respite. The Court of Appeal judges examined the law with precision. They found that courts could absolutely act on a single witness's testimony, especially when it was unchallenged and credible. More importantly, they applied a legal principle called res ipsa loquitur. Thing speaks for itself. When two vehicles collide head-on, negligence was inferred unless proven otherwise. Since SAOUD brothers provided zero evidence to dispute their driver's fault and never denied that he was their employee driving their truck, they were clearly liable. It was a massive victory. And now came the complex question of compensation. The court awarded him money for his lost farm income, reducing it slightly to account for life's uncertainties. They compensated him for his medical expenses, his pain and suffering. His medications and transportation costs were also catered for. And then Mr. Crew made one final, deeply personal claim that tested the boundaries of legal compensation. He told the court that since the accident, his sexual activity had been impaired. The doctor could not medically confirm this delicate matter, but the judges considered the reality of a 54-year-old man's life. They reasoned that virility was something a middle-aged man would treasure, and while they could not be certain if his difficulties stemmed from age or injury, his restricted ability to bend forward due to his accident-related waist injuries likely contributed to his intimate struggles. For a farmer in rural Akwedia, this represented a real diminishment of life's pleasures. The court awarded him some cash for his loss of life's amenities. Mr. Crew, the cocoa farmer, who had nearly died in that crash and was dismissed by one judge, was vindicated and had finally received justice. This case taught us that a single credible voice could move mountains in a courtroom, and that every loss from a personal injury deserved recognition under the law. Maybe we should all find joy in our leisurely activities. Our football, our morning tuzafi, our tennis games, our gym sessions, our hobbies, and even our intimate moments. Who knows? They might bring us money when we need it most. Courts would compensate us for losing the things that make our lives worth living. Follow Super Law GA Studios for more real stories, real cases, real people.